All right, hello. Welcome to the latest edition of Ragic Office Hour, where I will answer your questions on Ragic application design and any questions that you might have on the Ragic product. All right, let's go to the first question. Okay, define database versus sheets. I have groups of external users where I need to maintain different databases of data and related forms. Okay, I'm not sure how each group sheets related to databases. Is this one database where each sheet is a view, or do I buy a database for each group? Okay, this is probably a little bit of misunderstanding of the terminologies that we're using. So basically, Ragic is each account, so what we usually call a database, is referring to an account. So this is a database account. So a database account refers to one of this account name that it should follow, like ragic.com/, for example, this is called webinar account. So this is ragic.com/webinar. So this account is, which we also call it a database, is a database. A database can have many sheets and many users. So each sheet, and you'll be able to enter a lot of data on each sheet. So each sheet can contain many records. So this is a sheet, and this is all the records that goes into a sheet. Okay? And each account, there can be many users, and you can organize different users into different user groups, like into teams or departments. So basically, usually an account or a database maps to a company. So usually a company buys one account. And one account, they can have many sheets, and each of those sheets can have many records. And because you may have many sheets, so we organize each of those sheets into tab folders. So these are like folders for sheets. And folders can be organized into tab menus. So you can have different tab menus. If you choose a different tab menu, and it will display a different set of tab folders. So that you can accommodate lots of sheets into one database account, because one database account maps to an organization or a company. So a company may have hundreds or even thousands of sheets that they use on a regular basis. So this way, you can have all of your sheets organized, and each of those sheets can have tens of thousands of data records. Okay, so to answer your question, you have some external users. So external users are also users. So for all users, we have internal user or external user. Internal users are users in your organization and users that you pay the subscription for. And external users are people outside of your organization with limited access to your database, but they are free. So you can add as many external users as you need. All right, and you need to maintain different databases of data and related forms. Okay, so I think you probably means different sheets and tab folders for these sheets. So you're not sure how each group's sheet related to databases. So on each of those sheets, you can configure the database access right settings. So in each database, in each account, all of those users, you may have hundreds or thousands of users, you can organize them into user groups, which they usually map to organization units like departments or divisions. So you can describe like which group of users have what type of access to each of those sheets. So different individuals inside or outside your organization can see sheets that they have access to, so they can access the sheets that you have configured them to access. Okay, and you also mentioned views. So for Ragic, there's two types of views that, in the traditional sense, that we deal with views. So when you do some kind of filter, oh, whoops. If you do some kind of filter so that these are all the questions that we have, and we can have a filter for the questions that are unanswered. So this is the a view for which is the filter on a current sheet. Okay, but for views, they're usually on Ragic, for views, they're usually for different types of filters. So if you have different types of filters or some filters that you regularly use, you could save it as a view so that you can filter unanswered questions really quickly, or even set it as a default for this sheet. But sometimes you have more, we say, a more complicated requirement for views, like you might have different layouts for the listing page or the form page of this sheet that you want different groups of people to use, or maybe for different fields that you have, you want to remove or add some of the fields in different versions, or you want to make some versions have some of the fields read-only. Okay, so in these cases, we have another feature called multiple versions. You can create multiple versions of your sheet. Like usually you can have one version of your sheet for the sales department and one version of your sheet for the finance department, so that they may have access to different fields or something, maybe a purchase order. Okay, so you can have multiple versions of a sheet so that they're still referring to the same data, but the data can behave very differently or be viewed very differently on these different multiple versions of the sheet. So for views, a traditional view on Ragic, there may be just filter differences. You can save them as a view, and for bigger differences, you can create multiple versions of a sheet. Like for example, for the Ragic office hours sheet, when you fill it out, we have an external copy for you to fill out to ask your questions. When we have another multiple version, which is the internal copy for me to answer the questions and fill out the answers. So this is also a multiple version application using the multiple version function. Okay? So do I buy a database for each group? No, you only need to buy one database. So you just add as many users as you need for your company. So usually each company buys one Ragic account, and they can have a lot of sheets if they have a professional license. Okay, so that's a lot of things. I'm gonna say just refer to the recording for the answers. All right. Okay, next question. Extended reporting for user system. Hello, is there a pre-existing and or any new reporting features that work for identifying specific data sets related to what certain users are doing on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis? Maybe user report? For example, instead of having to look at one record at a time to see what has been updated, are there any new features that can collect every changes made to every record on the sheet, or a faster view? And recent change, there's a recent change feature here. Recent changes. We'll take a look at that in a minute. So there could be less of the repetitive fluff for what has been changed, or more focused on reporting on user 123 change field ABC from A to B, not having repeating this sheet updated. This sheet update. Okay, I think you're referring to this. So this, when you go to the recent changes of the database as a whole, you will be able to see all the changes to all of your database records on every sheet. So for the and you can even filter, like you want to see all the changes on certain sheets, or you want to see all the changes made in a certain date period, or all the changes to your database made by a certain user. So you will be able to cross all the sheets and the different users and look for all the changes using this recent change. And for form designs, like if you want to know if anybody has made design changes to your database, you can go to the database design changes. So you can say, you will be able to find the design changes and data changes on the global level with this recent changes feature. It's in the hamburger menu for the recent changes. Recent changes feature under the hamburger menu. Yeah, okay. Yeah, let me know if this helps. I think this is what you're looking for. And we also have like user reports, but it's more about how often they log in and how often they're using their account. But if you're looking for what they did in the database, it should be for the recent changes. Okay, why is the search option working so strange? Why can I not find info no matter how I search? Well, I know the info is there. Well, generally, I think you're referring to lists because because anytime people say they cannot find something, sometimes it's using this feature. So because generally it should work because it should be displaying records as you type. So what I would suggest is use the need help link to ask our support staff for help to see why it's not showing up in your account. But there is something you can do. Usually if you can't find something in your account, I would suggest that you go to the database maintenance link and do a rebuild search engine index. So this will usually help if there are some records that are there and not being indexed. Usually they should be automatically indexed, but in some cases there might be instances where they're not automatically indexed. So it might help if you could try that. Re-indexing your database using the database maintenance feature. If it still does not work, please use the need help link at the top right of your screen to ask support help. All right. Next question, memory leaking? Okay, memory leaking on subtables with plenty of link and loads. All right. Just want a feedback about not well optimized part of the product. If you have a subtable with dozens of link and loads in an object, if it's dozens of link and load. Okay, usually I have seen sheets with like hundreds of link and load, but perhaps there's something changed. It will abruptly slow down after about 500 records, and it will finally crash when you have like more than 1,000 records on the single subtable with link and load with out of memory. Okay, yeah, this is if you have like thousands of records in a subtable with link and load, and this might happen. Yeah. And we are working something a more of a lazy rendering to avoid this type of problem. But this is a kind of a big architectural change, so it will take us still some more time to make the adjustment. Okay, so this might have some of your data, so I'm not gonna open this sheet, but as you say, if you have like thousands of records in a subtable with link and load, I believe, yeah, it will take up a big chunk of the memory from your browser. Okay, so meanwhile, if replace link and load with text and numbers, and subtables can easily withstand up to 10K of records without serious performance issues. Seems like there's a loop that enhances memory usage exponentially for extra link and load. Yes, when it's link and load, it's gonna do a lot of other stuff other than a plain old subtable. And it would be great if your dev team can look deep into it. Yes, definitely. We are definitely aware of this issue, and we are already working on changes, but it's kind of a big change. So we're still doing a lot of tests and making sure that the whole architectural change, the lazy rendering will work better. And yeah, and thank you a lot for mentioning this. So perhaps I'll ask our development team to kind of take a look at your application design and probably use it as a testing design for this new type of subtable architecture. The team is aware of this issue and is working on an architectural change to the sheet design to the subtable rendering mechanism. Okay, thank you, Anton. All right, date filter. Can you look into date filtering? Most of the time when adding a filter on dates, it won't give any results. The only way is to go to actual date, right click and filter by that value. Okay, so the first thing is to make sure if you're using an actual date field. So usually if this doesn't work, you need to look into if you actually have a date field. So if you want to filter by date, at the left-hand side, you should see something like this. So the from date and the to date, you should be able to filter a date range using this. So if your date field doesn't have this, it's probably not configured as a date field. Okay. So sometimes in special circumstances, you might even have data in the date field, but it's not really working correctly as a date field. And I can probably guess why if that's the case, because usually that's kind of the only reason. So sometimes when you import the data into the database, you're importing it as a non-date field. Okay, so you're importing data into the sheet as a non-date field. So your data source on your CSV is just some kind of plain text. So when you import it, the system does not know that it's a date field, and the date format is not one of our default date formats. So the system have no idea knowing that it's a date field. So after you imported it and then you change it into a date field, and Ragic was not able to recognize the exact formatting of this field, because Ragic will try to guess the formatting of your field, but if it's not one of our default date format guesses, then it will probably not be able to determine the date correctly. But for a specific reason for your specific sheet, our support staff will still need to look into your account. But usually is that how this happens is that when you import it into the system as a non-date field and then change it into a date field later on. Or maybe it's not even a date field at all. Okay. First, make sure that the field is of the field type of the date field type. And if the data is imported from CSV and the date format is not one of our default date formats, it might have this issue. Into a non-date field. And the source date format. The solution would be to create a date field first, specifying the correct date format and then import. Please let our support staff know if you still have problems with date filtering. All right, because when you import as Excel has the metadata describing the date field format, so it's less likely for this to happen. But if your data source is CSV files, they're plain text, and when you import it into originally importing into a free text field, so that's when you will encounter this problem, because in the beginning we have no idea what the field format is, and we don't even know that the system doesn't even know that it's a date field. But if you design it as a date field and with a correct formatting in the field, then when you import it, the system will try to interpret or parse the data source as the specified format. So this way it's gonna import correctly. If the dates are not like parsed correctly, when you filter, it's gonna work more like text, just text, and just not treating, the system will not like treat it like dates. It will not treat it, it's gonna treat it like text. Okay, location of attachments. We have a sheet with a lot of information that includes attachments. Now we created another sheet that will have the same information in another format. Another sheet will have the same information in another format, or the form will be easier for reporting. Is it possible to know the location of the attachments so we can point them to the new form? Okay, yeah, I think you could just, let me just try, like, wait. Let me try to find something. You want to have attachments. Okay, let's have this as an attachment. So save, and then I think I can I can just like Control C copy, and this is this is the actual the actual attachment. So just focus on the file upload field and copy the content of the value cell, and you will have the URL to the file. I think this is what you're referring to, the location of the attachment. Yeah, and if it, but this is manual. But if you want, you can also use like link and load to do this. So maybe you have a source form and have like something like names and photos, and you can use link and load to choose a name and automatically load the photo into the new form. Yeah, just a basic link and load. So basically, with link and load, you can also load link fields. So that would be, more automatic. Using upload fields as the loaded fields, so that the content of the file, so that the file can be automatically populated. All right, let's find the document for this. Link and load. Yeah, just a basic link and load. Here we go. Okay. Next question. Can attached files get updated? I have an Excel file that's always updated manually. Is it possible to make the changes and get the file updated when it's saved? Like OneNote does. Okay. Because the file is not really saved. It's not saved on your computer, so it's saved on the server. So even if you have a private server, a Ragic private server, you're gonna have to update the file on that server. So if you update the file on that server, it's gonna be updated. But usually you're not gonna make changes to the file on the server. So is it possible to make the changes that get the file updated when it's saved, like OneNote does? The short answer would be no, unless you have access to a private Ragic server, and you have access to the upload directory of the file of the exact file. But other than that, you're probably gonna have to update it manually. Like with the previous question, we have attachment. So basically what you do is just remove the old attachment and drag and upload the new one. So basically you're gonna have to upload it again. And this time I'm just deleting the attachment there. So yeah, basically you have to upload it again to make the changes. Because the file is not stored on your computer, so you will need to upload it again to the file upload field when you make changes. Next question. Can I show records from 2 or 3 different sheets on a new sheet? Records from 2 different sheets. Okay, let's see the use case here. I would like to see open orders, open order records and open shipment records on one new sheet. Is it possible to do this? The short answer would be no, because they are basically different records. So on one sheet, we usually try to display one type of record. But if the records are related, for example, you're saying open orders and open shipment records. So, for each of those orders, they might have multiple shipments. They may be shipped like 3 different times. So in this case, you could design this order sheet with a subtable containing all the shipment records. So because these two are related, and you will be able to display all the shipment records for an order, or like if you want to have it reversed, you can have shipment records and including all the orders, including all the orders that are shipped in this shipment. Okay, so if you have data relations between the records, you will be able to display records from different sheets, but Ragic needs those relations. If those records needs to be related, so that Ragic knows like how to display 2 different sheets, records from 2 different sheets, and combined in one sheet. So usually we display them like a subtable. Okay, so if you want to display these kind of records in the subtable, there are 2 main ways to do this. So first of all, we have the new sheet from subtable. So in this example, like if you have companies and you have contacts from different companies, and you can generate a subtable, because like a company may have multiple contacts, so you could generate a subtable containing all the contacts from the company, and then create a new sheet from that subtable, and you'll have a new sheet called the contact subtable, so that you have Oscorp and all the contacts there. If you create a new sheet from this subtable, it will be a contact sheet which contain all the contacts from different companies. Okay, so this is one of the ways to do this, to create a new sheet from subtable. So new sheet from subtable. And the other way is the other way around, is to show references from existing sheets. So in this example, you can see that we want to view all the sales orders that a certain customer has ordered. Okay, so we have all the sales orders and we have all the customers. So we can create a subtable under the customers, displaying all the sales orders that the customer has ordered, using the show references from existing sheet function. Okay, so in short, if you have sales orders with linked customers, is that when you're entering the sales order, you have chosen a customer from your customer sheet. So you will be able to add a subtable back into the customer sheet as a subtable, displaying all the sales orders that this customer has ordered, like using this show references from existing sheet. We call it a reference subtable. Okay. So the video is a little bit fast, but if you have some time, you can take a look at these 2 ways to use subtables to describe different one-to-many or many-to-many relationships between your data on Ragic. So this is one of the most powerful things that you can do on Ragic, is to manage all these complex data relationships that a lot of other tools are less powerful on this. Okay, so create new sheet from subtable. And we just call this reference subtables. There are two main ways to display relations between records on different sheets. So they need to be related. If they're like unrelated, and it's just a little bit pointless to have to display, two different sheets on the same page. So usually they're related, and we want to display the relation between these data. All right. Yeah, so if you have like two or three different sheets, and you will be able to create multiple like reference subtables for a single record. So you can have like for a customer, you could have one subtable for all the orders that the customer has ordered, and another subtable from all the customer support cases that this customer has opened, and another subtable for all the visits that our sales has visited this customer. So you will be able to have multiple subtables in one record or one sheet design, so that you can display records from many different sheets in relation to this current record. All right, so that's it for the questions today. So thank you for joining in on the Ragic office hour today. So if you have any other questions for me, you can use the Ragic question sheet. So I will be answering your question again in 2 weeks. So we'll always do this Ragic webinar on Wednesday, and let's talk to you guys next week. Thank you. Bye.